promising 5 things I know I can do with no money, no help and support from councils or government. And that's how you're going to judge me. Because they're 5 things I guarantee will be done if I become the MP for Gorton and Denton. And it works here, and if I can get change here, I'll have people across the country going, I want my MP to do that. Stop with all the big ideas, stop with all the lies, stop with all the propaganda. Do small stuff and get it done. We have to start somewhere. Let's start with the small stuff and get it done. Little improvements add up. I'm going to encourage young people to improve things. But at the moment, just saying, vote for me and if I win, Keir Starmer has to resign. It's like, are you mental? Keir Starmer's not resigning by losing a by-election. I don't think any Prime Minister's ever resigned over losing a by-election. They expect to lose by-elections. And whoever wins this by-election, it will not change the country. Because it's one by-election. But if they vote the right person in, it'll change the area. So, that's me. That's what I'm going to do. Enjoy the rest of your day with advanced people. And hopefully I'll see you soon. And if you need a greater Manchester, get in contact and volunteer. We've got 3 weeks now to win this election. Thank you.
This is Britain, where freedom is written. Not a story at all, story given. Built in defiance, paid for in blood. Forged in alliance, founded in trust. Rome arrived. We resisted. The kingdom took shape. Law drew the line. An unbending faith, forged in Christianity and tested by time. A nation stood on its own. We looked outward. The seas opened. The modern world was built. Everything was tested. We had words became power. Ideas became machines. Stories went global. Music moved the world. That's our history. But our future is up to us. And the French UK government will fearlessly protect our inheritance, honour what was built, and secure it for future generations. A culture worth defending.
Ladies and gentlemen, I said that we had some remarkable public speakers within our college. We're going to hear from a few of them now. The next one up is the amazing Norman Fenton.
Ladies and gentlemen of Advanced UK, I wouldn't have been able to get the word saying at an academic conference. I want to speak about how our universities have been the cancer corrupting our culture. Even the United Arab Emirates won't send their students here anymore. They're afraid their children will be radicalised by the Muslim Brotherhood and artists. I suspect they're also wary of their kids coming home believing that men can get pregnant and women can have penises. So as a sensible decision, why pay for indoctrination when TikTok will give it to free? As student, researcher, lecturer, professor, I speak as an insider who's watched this rot spread from within, and it's far worse than people realise. For many years, I was taken myself as a socialist who genuinely believed that the system was serving truth and justice. I know exactly how the indoctrination works. I eventually woke up, and when I publicly challenged, for example, academic claims on COVID and climate change, the expectations, press data, and false conformity, I was branded a conspiracy theorist and quietly erased by institutions I've served for decades. Dissent is destroyed. Just last week, young freedom fighter Montgomery Thomas was attacked on campus for politely inviting debate on remigration. His friend Will Collins, who I saw, is here today. He attempted a citizen's arrest on the attacker and was beaten by a mob of students and lecturers. Yet he was the one that police arrested because they said remigration is offensive and he was asking. That single episode tells you everything. Rotting universities and two-tier policing protecting violent leftist lecturers and students. Once universities fell, everything downstream followed. Courts, policing, media, and common sense. The results were all around us. Politicised justice, captured institutions, propaganda posing as news, and a generation trained to love its own civilization. Universities don't just reflect culture, they manufacture it. They train the teachers, journalists, politicians, lawyers and regulators who now enforce the worldview, capture the campus, and the culture follows. This cultural Marxist long march through the institutions didn't begin in the 1960s. It began in the 19th century with the Fabian Society, the wolf in sheep's clothing, preaching gradual socialist infiltration. Debate replaced by dogma, dissent punished, conformity rewarded, successive generations of credentialised conformists captured every institution. Fabian Tony Blair, he completed the job by ensuring that most 18-year-olds went to university for deeper and longer exposure to ideological conditioning. Most of them belonged in jobs or vocational training, not Marxist mills. If we're serious about recovery, we must shrink the university dramatically and remove the wrong. This isn't a matter for timid reform, it's civilisational fight. Our answer is clear. Defund the DEI enforcers, policing speech and manufacturing grievance. Strip funding from political poison courses and teach Britain bashing as virtue. Restore universities to elite serious study, not activist data. Bring back merit and free speech. Reward not loyalty. Cut hostile foreign funding that distorts priorities and undermines sovereignty. This isn't censorship, it's sanity. Not exclusion, excellence. Not nostalgia, survival. Every successful civilization defends its knowledge fortresses. Ours were captured by people who think that decolonising the curriculum means replacing Shakespeare with grievance studies. That ends now. We must take them back for merit, truth and survival. And if the Marxists hate it, they can apply for a safe space on another planet, maybe even China.
Thank you so much, Robert. And now for our second helping of common sense, the formidable Kathy Bengal.
DCW defending freedom, otherwise known as the conservative woman, the true conservative woman. It is wonderful to be here with so many advanced UK members, so many like-minded people, all of us alarmed by the state of our country, its political descent into two-tier justice, censorship and corruption, its social descent into anti-science zealotry and intolerance, our freedom of speech curtailed. All of us, I hope, set on reversing this, knowing that it requires nothing less than national and cultural renewal. Thank you, Ben, for founding a party at last puts this front and centre. Also for inviting me to be a college member. And thank you, Floss, for inviting me to speak. It's an honour. The West is in a mess, and that's putting it lightly. Above all, it's in a state of moral collapse. On the one hand, we have Epstein's network of degeneracy. On the other, we have the Muslim rape gang's disgrace. These are not isolated examples. They're symptomatic of a deeper decay that recalls the fall of the Roman Empire. It has been said that civilizations usually die of suicide or murder. Well, we are dying of both. From the twin evils of homegrown zealotry and imported fundamentalist Islam. These are the colliding forces we're up against and have to take on. But consider first our own social suicide. The rapidly declining proportion of white British births, which is at current rate, according to one analyst, could fall below 50% this year. White women have turned their backs on babies and motherhood. 225,000 abortions a year. The spread of one-and-done families, and the growing decision to have no children at all, whatever the reason for this. These facts cannot be denied. Then take a careless attitude to children, the country's epidemic of fatherlessness, more babies born out of wedlock than in, over 3 million lone parent families, nearly all motherhood. Marriage out of reach for all but the better off, and catastrophic for the rest. Dismiss this as modern social liberalism, if you will, something that Kenny Barnott's conservative realism dictates we can't and shouldn't change. Well, I don't. It is dysfunctional. It's an anti-child society that casts children adrift and turns them into wards of the state. It's a society with no future. Far from liberal. It's a product of social engineering, of that selfish, I'm all right, Jack, globalist establishment class. It's decades-long assault on the traditional family and the feminist war on men. A war, I'm sad to say, never lost. A war that stripped fathers of their authority and rights and that feminized men or just made them obsolete. That replaced husbands with the state. That put babies and children in the care of strangers. A conquest that culminated in the 2010 Equality Act, which granted women permanent victim status, that marginalised white men and made them toxic. All this successful point of suicide, more socially driven same-sex relationships, more single parenthood, more isolation. The sense of belonging to family, community and country lost. In short, an atomised, alienated, state-dependent society. This is the feminists' brutal legacy. No wonder today's young people are so vulnerable to identity politics, to victimhood and offence, to fictitious virtues and intolerant new religions, whether climate change, gender ideology or Palestinian activism. They haven't foundations, no networks of family relationships, only female friendships and social media. Social atomization, Hannah Arendt observed, is the precondition of indoctrination and totalitarianism. It is the seedbed for oikophobia, aversion to home, culture and heritage. But yet another step was needed to complete this disintegration. One final stop on the long march through the institutions, the destruction of biology itself. The big LG, I can't say it, the wicked lie taught to parents and children from birth, you can choose who you are. This was the final lie, the ultimate insanity that the uniparty establishment fell for. That marriage can be severed from biology and parenthood from gender. That men and women are transferable. That all family choices are equal for children. It's the same moral relativism that underlies all the other political lies, that multiculturalism is compatible with democracy. That DEI is virtuous when it blatantly and viciously discriminates against white males. These are all moral inversions. This is today's banality and evil. Fighting it is the huge battle ahead, reversing the perversions of the last 30 years and more. Well, we won't do it without repairing relations between men and women and reinstating men in society. We won't do it without restoring and renewing our Christian-based marriage policy. Marriage that's for the procreation of children and for the good of both spouses. This is imperative if we're to arm ourselves for the confrontation with that second existential threat to our future, Islamic conquest. Above all, it means reclaiming and rebuilding marriage, not just as a religious preference, but as the indispensable foundation of a free and secure society. A society strong enough to build its defences against mass immigration and reassert the rule of law over incompatible cultures taking over our cities and towns. Winning that battle, in my view, cannot be accomplished without it. Thank you.
When we asked our next speaker to come and speak, he took one look at the weather and decided to stay in our country, and instead send us in this video. The amazing Paul Fort.
A wonderful audience today, and I thank Ben Habib and my fellow Advanced UK members for this opportunity. Now, the amazing people of our United Kingdom have always risen to the toughest of challenges. No task has ever been too great, no order has ever been too tall. And behind our uniqueness as a people, our success, our bravery and stoicism is a very special type of human being. And we often, and quite rightly, celebrate what us British have given to the world, but we rarely recognise the hands that built our nation in the first place, and then fought and died to retain it for future generations. Those are the hands of our wonderful and quite unique working class. In modern times today, it's our bricklayers, plasterers, labourers, emergency service workers, those who sweep our roads to keep them clean, and the men and women who rise at 4 AM to go to work in the cold and rain every single morning that are no longer celebrated or given the respect that they truly deserve. And in years gone by, it was the working class English longbowmen who saw off the French and who enjoyed their work so much that they managed to drag it out for 100 years. The working class heroes of Waterloo and Trafalgar, and those who gave their lives in their thousands in the fields of Flanders and on the beaches of Dunkirk and Normandy. The working class blood of our brave servicemen and women from 2 world wars, including my own grandfather, yes, he too was one of battle. And we should never forget nor underestimate their contribution to our nation, for it is the working class who keep our country alive and keep it functioning, and they keep it moving for those that betray them. But times are changing at last. In Advanced UK, and with our amazing leader Ben Habib at the helm, finally, we have a political party that truly recognises, respects, and indeed celebrates the crucial contribution of these proud men and women, both past, present and future. Advanced UK really is the People's Party. It's yours, it's mine, it's ours. And it loves the working class people of our nation.
Our next speaker is the incredibly righteous Ricky Doolan.
Not righteous enough to miss that step, but anyway. Good afternoon, London! We have made it. This is a big part of a great momentum that is gathering and building through Advanced UK. Over 40,000 members in the opening months, and now a full house in the middle of London. And you can celebrate that, somebody. Thank you so much, sir, for starting this party and for allowing us to be here today gathered. And we're here on a very big task. We're here to save our wonderful nation, and save it we shall. Now, I want to read you something. Some of you may recognize it, some of you may not. It reads like this: know that, having regard to God, and for the salvation of our soul, and those of all of our ancestors and heirs, and unto the honour of God, and the advancement of his holy church, and for the rectifying of our realm. Do you know what that is? It's not the Holy Bible, it's the Magna Carta. But just look at the language in the Magna Carta. The whole document was dedicated to God. And which God am I talking about? I'm talking about the God of this nation, the Christian God, Jesus Christ is who I'm talking about.
liberties, not only in this great country, but across the world. It was the foundation for the Constitution in America and the Bill of Rights. It was the foundation for anybody to have fair and just justice, even for a jury to be amongst the judging party of anybody who was accused of something comes from the Magna Carta. And now we see each and every one of those liberties being betrayed, being regressed. And as Advance UK, we say no more, we won't tolerate it, we won't stand for it. Our liberties will be... So this is the Magna Carta, which I read to you. And listen to the language, speaking about God, speaking about our salvation as a nation. Our ancestors knew the truth. Our ancestors knew that Jesus Christ is the one and true living God, and nothing else can change that fact. Now, tolerance is a very key virtue, but tolerance should never go over our foundations, our principles, our identity. Never in a million years. But that's what they're trying to do now. And what is so wonderful about Advance UK is that while we are advancing, we are going to look to the past. We are going to look to our foundations to bring a new future for our children and our children's children. If you look at the House of Commons, where the debates take place, where many anti-Christian individuals and parties are throwing debates and opinions and policies at each other, many of them going against our Christian constitution, many of them going against our Christian culture. Well, do you know that very House of Commons used to be a chapel? Oh yeah. St. Stephen's Chapel, that's what it was.
Thank you, Leslie, I appreciate that.
The family used to worship there.
Thank you very much.
And then they allowed debating to begin there. The very pews that the governing party sit in, and the ones opposite for the opposition party, were actually the pews for the choir. The choir, meaning they were for worshipping God, for Jesus Christ. And I tell you something, if we are going to come back to a sanity in this nation, if we are going to come back to this land being healed, we must turn back to Jesus Christ, the God of this nation. It's the only way. I want to leave with this statement. I want to echo a great ally of ours in the battle for freedom and the battle for our nations and culture, President Donald Trump. He said something that I'm going to echo for Britain. We must rededicate this nation to Christ. Thank you so much.
Very dear to me, our military, ladies and gentlemen, and good night. It is impossible to talk about British culture without mentioning the part that our military has played in shaping it. I'm an ex-Royal Engineer and paratrooper. I served 10 years in the British Army. I am fiercely and unapologetically proud of my country, its history and its achievements. Like many of you, my grandfathers, great-grandfathers and uncles fought for our freedom in both world wars. The debt we owe them is beyond measure. nations have developed and lost a warrior culture. They're usually based on conquest and plunder. They're gone in a couple of generations, the blink of an eye. Our warrior culture is different. It is central to our 1,000 years of shared history, older than the United Kingdom and even the nations it consists of. It has endured and continues to this day because it has value. It is based on service, strength, honour, compassion, and a desire to protect the weak, especially children. Tommy Atkins is the finest fighting man that ever walked the earth. He has won 2 world wars, 3 if you count beating Napoleon, repeatedly saving our European cousins from each other. Some of them are even grateful. Through our empire, we brought civilization where there was none, along with light, power, sanitation, medicine and education, sharing our ingenuity free of charge. It is fashionable among the degenerate left to sneer at our nation, its achievements and our empire. Why? Because they are unworthy of its legacy. They are unable even to maintain what better men and women built. We expended vast amounts of our blood and treasure to end transatlantic slavery. We only finished paying the debt in 2015. Who dares to denigrate us? Ladies and gentlemen, it is the covenant between our armed forces and our people that has made all this possible. We could not have defeated other industrial powers without those at home putting their shoulders to the wheel. The women who went willingly into the fields, factories and hospitals, even behind enemy lines, were every bit the warrior themselves. The part of the covenant that is now broken is that between we the people and our establishment. The military has never needed to be best friends with our leaders. Wellington called us scum, drunks and devils. We just laughed at the side of his nose. We have, however, always had the right to demand their loyalty. Can you imagine explaining to your forebears who endured what they did that our government would allow British soldiers to be prosecuted for the crime of doing their duty? Let's be clear, there is no autonomy on the battlefield. From pre-deployment training, through planning, operations and debrief, every action is micro-analysed. Rules of engagement are already written by weaklings and restricted to the point where they favour the enemy. If wrongdoing is not immediately identified, no British soldier should face prosecution years later unless his chain of command, up to and including cabinet level, are co-defendants. The day that veteran prosecutions affect senior officers and politicians is the day that they will stop. As regard our elitist but far from elite leaders, by their deeds you shall know them. The Westminster culture clearly does not share the values that I set up. Strength, honour, integrity, even the desire to protect children are completely absent. They are not like us, we are not like them. We no longer trust or respect career politicians. The two-party system has been the first casualty. Our current situation is bleak, but we have first faced worse and prevailed. After Dunkirk, my granddad and his mates never gave up. They took the fight to the enemy in North Africa, Sicily and Italy before we went back to Normandy on the morning of D-Day. By comparison, our outlook is bright with freedom in sight. It took our forefathers 1,000 years to build what we have today, and only 30 years of malfeasance to drive it into the ground. The solution to our problems is obvious. As Ricky said, it doesn't lie in more change. It simply lies in restoring what we have. In rejecting outside influences, prioritising our national interests, and handing power back to the people. Our country pays the time to do this. As we did before, rejecting tyranny as we have always done. Men and women, old and young, soldier and civilian, from country estate to council estate. If we unite, our kingdom will prosper. By being in this room today, you have declared that you are ready to fight for this nation and its future. Yes, this is our country, not yours. Your time is over.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is going to talk about an industry that's been absolutely decimated by this latest government. I'm of course talking about an incredible bowler hat farmer, Mark Blythe.
Hi everybody. I come with no notes, and that's for a reason. I can't read. I grew up on a farm, and I want to tell you about some of the things which I enjoyed as growing up as a kid. Some of the things which, on a farm, you're never going to get to do anywhere else in the world, especially nowadays. We climbed trees, we fell out. We stacked bales, they fell over. If anything broke, you repaired it with a bit of bale twine. All things that made us who we were. When I got asked to stand for college, I genuinely thought to myself, what have I got to offer? But then I remembered. We've been blessed in this country. As kids, we grew up, we went to Sunday school. We were taught morals, we were taught values, things that we've forgotten. Most of us hasn't. I travelled the UK last year with my partner. I know I'm racist because those who know me know my partner will know she's black Nigerian. And for those who say the British are racist, excuse me, but fuck you. We travelled the country, we did 12,000 miles. We did Land's End to John O'Groats, like that, because I didn't really understand sat-nav. But let me tell you what we found. There wasn't one village, there wasn't one town where we weren't made to feel welcome. There's one particular lady sitting in this audience once, when I rang her to ask her, was it okay if we went to stop there, she said, darling, the door's open, we're not there though, we're in London. That's the country we grew up in.
say we've lost our way as a nation, as a country. The problem is when you dilute what the belief is, things change. I went to school, despite the belief, a Christian school. We had to take one of these with us, a Bible. We had to do particular things at a particular time of the year. Celebrate Christmas. See guys, when I went to travel the country last year, I realised something. I thought in the start of 2020 that I was mad. And I was the only person who could see what was really coming about. Yet here I am in a room full of 1,000 people who want to see change in our country. As I toured the country, farmers came out, housewives came out, the kids came out. 20,000 people came to hear me speak. I'm just a boy. I'm just a guy who grew up on a farm. I've got no real education. Yeah, I've got all those bits of paper to keep my mum happy, called a degree. But where's the experience come from? Kids can't get a paper round anymore. They're not allowed to do anything anymore. I grew up in a village so remote that we used to go to play in the next village, and when the street lights came on, you knew it was time to go home. Guys, I've only got one thing left to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is an absolute giant in comedy, more than just stature, Leo Jones.
I just wanted to come up here and talk about freedom of speech and why it's important, especially in comedy. You know, I've got other people trying to cancel me. People successfully cancel me. I used to do a show every month at the Top Secret Comedy Club in London. It's a great club. They didn't cancel me, by the way, but this complaint email, this just shows how people go out of their way to get offended. The complaint email said, "We came to see Leo Pierce's show in July. It was horrific and offensive, and we left in disgust. And then we came back to see it again in October. It's still horrific and offensive. Can you please stop putting them on? It's not why you go and see somebody else. You know what I mean? Other comedians are available. People just want to get offended these days. I got cancelled from some venues because of my comedy about trans people. I think we've got to be able to talk about this stuff. You know, we can't have transgender sports becoming a dumping ground. Like, female sports can't become a retirement community for mediocre male athletes. Even if it is more entertaining to watch, it's just not right. Because you've got to understand, when you go through male puberty, you get certain advantages as an athlete. You get stronger muscles, you get greater bone density, it's easier to parallel park outside the stadium. I saw this New Zealand weightlifter, Laurel Hubbard. I don't know where he got his gender transition surgery done, but I read he's got a 135 kilogram snatch. That's got to be one of the bigger ones. And then they say things like, "I just want to be seen." It's like, Susan, you're 6'5". You dress like like a Japanese schoolgirl. Everybody can see you. Don't worry about that. You are not getting hit by a car. You'd write the van off. And then people say, like, oh, how can you talk about this? How can you talk about this? It's a straight white man. It's like, straight white man. What do you think transgender women are? Been accused of thinly veiled Islamophobia, which, you know, would you be happy if I put a thicker veil on it? Like, I don't think, people get a hard time for Islamophobia, but Islamists are a little bit scary. Like, a phobia is supposed to be an irrational fear, but I find ISIS a little bit scary. Islamic terror, a little bit scary. You know, nobody's given arachnophobes a hard time for being scared of spiders. All a spider's going to do is scuttle out from under the couch and give you a little bit of a jump, you know? Not I'm saying there's any similarities between Islamists and spiders. Spiders have got hairy legs and kill a surprising number of people in hot countries. Islamists are definitely scarier. Imagine if you got home tonight and you sit down on the couch to watch some TV. Islamist scuttles out from under the couch. Osama bin Laden going across the carpet. Look at his legs, they're going so fast. Look at his distended thorax. You know, he scuttles over to the curtains because he thinks it's his wives. You think you're safe, you know, okay, he's disappeared, you know, behind there. Just hope he's not, you know, laying 500 eggs. Islamists, you know, which you can't really suspended the 2-child benefit cap. You think, well, I'll just go upstairs into the bath to relax, and then you go into the bathroom, you turn on the light, and there's Abu Hamza in the bathtub! He's struggling to get out, but you can't get any purchase on the shiny sides of the bath, because his hands are hooks. That's terrifying! That's much scarier than a spider. You're supposed to get him in a pint glass and slide a bit of card under. The guy's 32 stone. It's not going to happen. Nah. It's ridiculous. We've got to be able to talk about these issues. We've got to be able to joke about these issues, because that's how tensions are diffused. Social cohesion and how they want people to be tolerant. Like, if you silence people from talking about these things, if you stop people looking at issues like the grooming gangs, you're not improving social cohesion, you're damaging it, because those tensions are just going to blow up. Britain is the birthplace of Western democracy. It's the birthplace of free speech, and that's got to be protected. Britain's culture has got to be protected. Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to deliver the first of our policies, please welcome Party Leader Ben Habib.
I thought since I was going to give you our first couple of policies, I might note some of them down, and I've noted them down for you. So this is going to be a relatively easy speech, I hope, for me to make, not completely coming out of my mind. But before I start, can I just say, isn't it peculiar that a so-called racist party has a multi-ethnic leader?
The reason we were slightly delayed starting this conference was because they're blocking our live stream signal, and we were trying to get that fixed. So for all their moral correctitude, actually they would wish to silence us. They wish to silence what we have to say. We will not let them silence us. Indicated on the 30th of June 2025 that I was going to launch, I was considering launching a political party. I set two hurdles for the party. The first was that we would have to hit 30,000 members, and I thought that might be a get out of jail free card, that I wouldn't hit it, and that I could retire back to my normal life and say, well, I gave it a shot, it didn't work. Within a couple of months, we hit our target. That in 6 months then, you will have nearly 40,000 members. You would have fought your first council by-election and got 12.3% in it. Where's the wonderful Alex Stevenson? At the time of speaking on your first policy, you would have a candidate standing in a by-election that has got so riled up my erstwhile party that they've been denouncing him non-stop on X. I won't name the party, I think you can guess. But for all the banging of drums that party does about freedom of speech, actually, it stands against it. It wishes to silence Nick Buckley. It must have been for them that a political party wished to stand a candidate in an election. How bizarre a concept is that? But as Nick said, whatever happens in that by-election actually won't make a jot of a difference on the national stage, but in one respect. If we do well in that by-election, it will send a seismic shock through Westminster. Absolutely vital we stand. Absolutely vital, and that's why they didn't want us to do it. So to the extent that any of you have got free time coming up over the next couple of weeks, I plead to you, please go up to Gordon and Denton, support Nick Buckley, and let's win this by-election. I do just want to thank a few people. I want to thank the Emmanuel Centre particularly, because the location of this venue was given away earlier this week, and following the disclosure of the location, they were inundated with the so-called anti-hate people trying to shut us down, the anti-racists trying to shut us down, and they held their ground. Is if we all hold our ground. We must not bend. We must keep standing up, whatever we do and whatever we say. I would also like to thank, you've heard her name a few times, some of you know who she is. Luckily for those of you who don't, she's here, Floss. Floss, stand up. I want to thank Françoise as well, who's head of events. Françoise is here somewhere. And I want to thank David Rhodes, who habitually repeatedly tells me he wants to take a back seat. Well, for someone who wants to take a back seat, he's heading up the policy development of Advance UK. He's a phenomenal member of our college, and without him we wouldn't have what I'm about to disclose to you. for the hard work that they do behind the scenes. What I'm going to show you now is just a synopsis of our draft policies. This is not comprehensive. It took me ages poring through the document they produced to actually pick out the key bits that I thought I could get through in now 18 minutes that I've got left to speak to you. They are in draft because as we move forward between now and the next general election, we are going to continue to refine our policies. We're going to continue to make the public aware of what those policies are, so that by the time we get to 2028, 2029, we have a perfect, or as close as perfect, set of policies that have been thought through in great detail, and we're going to back it up with draft legislation. That draft legislation will be appended to our manifesto, and for those of the public who wish to read it, the exact direction of travel that we will set for this country will be known. There will be no ambiguity in our policies. It won't be a manifesto put together within 3... Isn't it peculiar, ladies and gentlemen, that political parties stand for government and they produce a manifesto 2 or 3 weeks before the election, full of nonsense, none of which ever gets delivered. That has to change. And so we will have draft legislation. And the benefit of having draft legislation, there's multiple benefits. The first of which is that the British people know precisely what it is we're going to do, so we can't let them down. We've made it crystal clear. The next benefit, and this is really important, is that the Lords can't interfere with it. The civil service can't interfere with it. When I walk into the Commons in May 2029 for the first time as Prime Minister of this country, that is the risk of being a leader of a political party. We may end up as Prime Minister, but when I walk into the Commons, I am going to thump this document down, this draft legislation, and I'm going to look across to the opposite benches, and I'm going to address the Lords, the civil service and the British people, and I'm going to thump this document down and say, I have the democratic backing of the British people. I think I can't remember who said it earlier, but it took 1,000 years to build this great country. It's taken 30 years to trash it. And we have to save it, and save it we will. Now, the first policy that we were going to draft was on immigration, because that is the thing that really exercises the people's mind. 80% of people in this country put immigration at the top of their concern list. But as we were drafting it, a couple of things happened. The first thing was that we realised, the group of people that were drafting it and myself, that actually there's something more fundamental that has to underpin not just our immigration policy, but all our policies. It is who we are. What are we as a country? Who are we? What do we wish to be? How do we wish to move forward? Unless you've established that principle, those sets of
Do you mind holding this while I toilet?
you're at sea
So
making
basically,
other
hold it
policies.
on the screen.
You won't know
And then
how to make
there's
the other
a back
policies
button
you need
here.
to make to save the
Hold
United
that,
Kingdom
and
if you can't
if it
first
flips,
establish who
just
we
don't tap
are.
that.
And I'm afraid,
hold the
as
back
much
button.
as Keir Starmer and the liberal globalist lunatics would like to categorise British culture as something of an inferior debate. They call it the culture wars. We're not going to entertain the culture wars. As much as they might wish to categorise it as that, actually British culture is what we're fighting for. We went to war to save our way of life, to save our constitution, our culture, our people. And we are at that point again. There aren't guns being fired, but we're at a point where we have to fight that same battle for our way of life. So, the government, in its desire to set aside this nation, has defined cultural nationalism as far right. How many of you in this room were aware of that before I just told it to you? A few. The government of the United Kingdom has denounced British culture. If you look up far-right terrorism, you will find that it defines it as violence perpetrated in the pursuit of far-right ideologies, and one far-right ideology that it cites is cultural nationalism. Without a culture, we have no nation-state, and they would like to diminish our culture. Tell us that those of us who believe in it are far-right, and at the same time, tell us that cultures coming from abroad should be celebrated, championed, have a protected culture. Enough of that. They have traduced our culture to such an extent that actually when people are asked, well, what does it mean to be British? We're reduced to ridiculous platitudes such as, well, being nice, being tolerant. Well, it's a hell of a lot more muscular than that, I have to remind people. Is a rich, woven web of brilliance. And I've highlighted a few points on the screen, as you can see. Morality, customs, behaviors, laws, art, music, architecture, a shared history, shared values, language. Why do they wish to denounce our national heroes? Because they want to cut our connection with our history, our common history. Why do they wish to decolonize the English language? Because if they can control language, they can denounce our culture. Why do they make laws like bringing into a body of British law the European Convention of Human Rights, the Human Rights Act? Because they want to set aside what it means to be a British citizen. This is the effect of 30 years of government policy. Well, it has to stop now. We know what British culture is, so I'm pointing at the screen down there because I can see what you can see up there down there. And all of you will recognise what those words mean, and they play into each other. Morality manifests itself in our art. Our history manifests itself in art, in music, our architecture, our great forefathers who built wonderful buildings and statues, who now we're told are racist and they need to come down. That is just a lie. It is an attack on our culture. Culture is the foundational building block. It is the glue that allows us to identify who we are. Someone asked me before I came in to speak to you, are you a bit nervous addressing 1,000 people in the Emmanuel Centre? And I thought about it for a second, and actually I wasn't nervous at all. And why wasn't I nervous? Because I knew I was coming to address a body of people who share my life vision. You are our family and I am your family. And that's how it has to be. There's something that I do want to just focus on a little bit. We tend to think of culture separately from law. And law has been used to defeat
hit the like button, everyone share.
on the Human Rights Act. But there's been a whole body of law that's been put into place, including, for example, defying far-right who's believing in this country's culture. There's been a whole body of law that has been attacking our culture. And if you have a body of law that informs you that you need to behave in a particular way, then you start behaving in that way because you don't want to break the law. And when you start behaving in that way, you adopt this new culture that the government is forcing down our throats. This multiculturalism, the ending of what you and I might identify as British culture. Law is upstream of culture, which is upstream of experience, which reinforces culture, which then informs parliamentarians on how to make law. There is a circle, and we have to reverse the circle they've been pushing down our throats for the last 30 years. So just to sum up, our culture is freedom, nation state, duty and patriotism. Being a British citizen is a huge privilege, but it comes with duty. You owe this country something for being a citizen. As Andy died, I think he said he served 10 years in the parish. That is fulfilling your duty. I'm trying to fulfill my duty now by giving back to the British people. And you're all here because you're fulfilling your duty, because you see we're in peril. That sense of, that contract between the state, between the people, it's not just about the state giving. We have to give back. And I'm so pleased to see so many people re-engage, because you are all giving back to this country. You are going to save this country through that cultural commitment. We've forgotten what aspiration is. Every time something goes wrong, we look at the state and say, well, can you please save us? Can you do something? Can you spend more money? We've got 8 million people out of the workforce of 35 million who are surviving on universal credit. And yet we keep saying we haven't got enough people in the economy, we've got to take in more migrants. It is ridiculous. We need aspiration reinstalled in the United Kingdom. So people wish to come off dependency, wish to go into work, and we're going to reveal a couple of those policies in a second. So as I said, law comes upstream of culture. And there are some fundamental legal changes that we would do on the first day in government. The first thing we would do, and it's kind of ironic, really, that we would be doing this, because it was us that set up the European Convention of Human Rights. I can't remember again which brilliant speaker earlier said that some European countries are grateful for us having saved them from the grip of Nazi tyranny. But we set up the ECHR not because the United Kingdom needed to be policed, its human rights needed to be policed. Our human rights have existed for thousands, over 1,000 years. It was the Europeans who needed the European Convention of Human Rights because they just can't help tearing themselves apart. But that European Convention of Human Rights has now been put into such, it's turned into a mill around our necks. In the pursuit of human rights, we are forgetting what it means to be us. And we're not being allowed to put British national interest first. We're not allowed to put British people's interest first. And in fact, we get the bizarre result that often we will protect criminals and denounce victims. As we all that from the European Convention of Human Rights as put into the body of British law through the Human Rights Act. That was one of Blair's initial gifts to the British people, and we are going to repeat it on the first day in government. There's nothing about equality in the Equality Act. The Equality Act produces inequality. It informs us that you will be judged by the colour of your skin, your ethnicity, your religious beliefs, not by the content of your character. Quite the opposite of what Martin Luther King had in mind. The Equalities Act has to go, and that will go on the first day of all hate speech laws will be abolished. And you might think, why the hell is Ben going back to the withdrawal agreement that got us out of the European Union? Well, the withdrawal agreement is a bastardization of the United Kingdom. It did not give effect to our leaving the EU. What it did was rearrange the United Kingdom's relationship with the EU. In many ways, it made it worse. And I think all of you know that if we are still embedded, infected with the global order, we will never be able to put this country first. And there's something particularly bad about the withdrawal agreement, and many of you, all of you perhaps, have heard me speak about it before, which is the Northern Ireland Protocol. We have become... A lot of people think Northern Irish politics is a minority sport. It isn't. When a country puts a flipping border down the middle of itself and heaves off over 1 million citizens to a foreign power, subject to foreign laws adjudicated by a foreign court, you know that country has lost its way. The Northern Ireland Protocol is not just about Northern Ireland. It is about us rediscovering who the hell we are. Are we going to stand by our British brethren, or are we going to throw them under a bus? I know what I'm going to do. And we are going to get into the withdrawal agreement. And there'll be a whole policy on how we're going to deal with the EU, none of which von der Leyen is going to much enjoy reading. Now, there's been a lot of talk of Christianity, and of course we are a tolerant country, but we must never forget that we're not just culturally a Christian country, we are constitutionally a Christian country. How is it that it has come to be that people talk about the United Kingdom as if it's a multi-faith country? Sure, you can have different faiths. You can be an atheist. You don't have to believe in Christianity. But if you live in this country, you must recognize that this is a Christian country. Starmer wants to remove the bishopric from the House of Lords. Why does he want to do that? I mean, the bishopric are a pretty useless bunch of people now. The Church of England itself has lost its way. But the reason he wants to remove the bishopric from the House of Lords is because he wants to remove the last constitutional vestige of Christianity manifesting itself in our constitution. He wants it gone. And then it's a hop and a skip to say, well, actually, we're a multicultural, multi-faith nation, and that's the end of Christianity at the heart of things. So the first policy we're going to introduce...
Thanks for all the likes, shares, super chats, everyone appreciate it.
Anyone taking public office of any description has a choice. They can either swear on the Bible, or they can swear on a neutral oath, but there will be no swearing on a foreign religious... Our culture, if you go back to the slide where I laid out what culture means, Christianity infuses every part of that, our art, our buildings, our statues, what we fought for. If you go into a church in this country, you all know this. You go into a church in a foreign country, and what you see are trappings of Christianity. You walk into a church in this country, and you see the trappings, obviously, of Christianity, but you see also, alongside them, the heritage of this country played out through remembering those who died in the various villages where these churches are. Those who died in the great wars protecting this country, protecting our Christian heritage. Our church and our heritage and our great military past, which is very, very important to this country, they all go hand in hand. And we will reinforce that Christian heritage. The conversion of churches to foreign religions. When you see a church being converted to another religion, that religion is basically saying, we've beaten you. We've taken your building. That is going to stop. How is it that our flags have become so toxic to the British people? There's nothing toxic about our flags. Yes, they're Christian too, by the way. They're Christian too, maybe that's why people find them offensive. But our national flag, it'll be mandatory under an advanced government. Building that is of public ownership. And we will recognise our great heroes and national figures. We're not going to allow statues to come down. If you let those statues come down, you forget who you are. And I did a debate recently at the Oxford Union in which I talked about Cecil Rhodes and glowing curves. You can imagine the kind of response that got. But the Rhodes Scholarship was bequeathed by Rhodes, saying that it should be blind to ethnicity and religious beliefs. Did you know that, folks? He was not a racist. He was a good man. And we are allowing our national heroes to be denounced. That has to stop too. And I want to also nod here, if I may, very briefly. I've only got 30 seconds left, but I'm going to go over time because there's a lot more to get through. I'm going to nod very briefly to the people Paul Thorpe remembered in his little speech. For every national hero we have, Wellington, Winston Churchill, Nelson, the Duke of Marlborough, behind them stood hundreds and thousands and millions of working class people. It is the British working class on whose back this country was built. And we forget them at our peril. When Nelson said, England expects every man shall do his duty, people, the working class who manned those ships weren't petrified, as I perhaps might have been. They cheered. They went into the French and Spanish fleet, bold in heart, and they laid down their lives to save our country. That is what culture is. We will fund councils to promote quaint old things like Christmas and Easter.
That's important.
And we will speak English in every public sector. And of course, we have to do away with this decolonisation of the UK. Again, that's an attack on our heritage. It's an attack on our culture. It's an attack on who we are. We will recolonise the curriculum. We will teach our constitution to our children. We will teach them about the
the British state has with citizenry, where citizenry get privileges because they're citizens, but then they have to stand up for the country as well. We will teach our children how our Christian forefathers have actually been a force for good, not the kind of Christianity that the anti-racist lot outside would like us to think. That our national anthem is actually a hymn. It's a hymn, and we will sing it proudly in every state sector school and all our universities. It will be celebrated. At the heart of all of this is the family. And we are going to protect the family. We are going to destigmatize actually having children. We're going to destigmatize women looking after their children. And we're going to do that practically as well. This idea that you should reward people who can't afford to have children through a dependency culture of handing out benefits is wrong. Benefits for having children should be removed. You should be encouraged to have children through the tax system. You should be encouraged to get married. You should get a tax break. Every child you have. And you should be encouraged to stay at home and look after your children by getting a tax break. Get the tentacles of the state out of my family. Why has he suddenly put in a tax policy under the family? Well, let me tell you, inheritance tax is an evil tax. It raises not much for the exchequer, but it's a fantastic tool for the far left because it forces families to sell their homes, break their connection with the country, sell their businesses, break their connection with the economy of the country, sell their farms, break the connection with making food domestically in this country. It is an attack on the connection between the British people, its heritage, our heritage, and the land. And that's what they want to do. Woo! Inheritance tax has to go. We have to reintroduce, I touched on this briefly before, we have to reintroduce aspiration. You have to know that when you work, you will be rewarded for it. How can you go forward with confidence during the day if you think that every time you earn a pound, the government's going to reach into your back pocket and nick it, and then use that money actually to keep those people who refuse to work in the state of and not to send the farmers who come to this country. We do need to make our accounts stack up. And other political parties won't talk about it. But we must cut back welfare. If you don't work, you will not get paid. We're going to pursue British farming. I'm going to have to rush a bit, folks. We're going to pursue British farming. We're going to protect the countryside from new build housing. It's not necessary. We've got exhausted villages and town centres across the country, full of property that's vacant, that can be repurposed. You know why we can't repurpose it? Because of net zero. We can't repurpose it because of net zero so they can build on the green countryside. It's lunatic. And they take up, once the countryside's gone, it's gone. We will reverse that. And we will prohibit the removal of farms from the fabric of British culture. Andy talked about the risk of prosecution when you serve this country, but there's also something else that we've done for our veterans, which is absolutely horrendous, or haven't done for our veterans, is we've turned our backs on them after they have served the country. We don't give them housing, we don't give them priority housing. We don't look after the mental health issues that they often have when they come back from war zones. We give them no mechanism by which they can come back from the extreme conditions in which they have fought to protect this country, to find their feet again in society in this country. We have to repurpose them, if you like. They need a helping hand when they come out. We will obviously get rid of any, I mean, I love the way Andy said it, you know, if we're going to put an officer or a member of the military on charge, well, then it has to go all the way up to blooming cabinet ministers. That could be that's a good one. I think that would be the end of the constitution. We're going to get rid of dual nationality. Either you're British or you're not. Multiculturalism as an extreme far-left form of ideology, which we will denounce. Even integration is not good enough. People have to be assimilated into British culture. There can be no foreign religious courts in the United Kingdom. To bring our culture back into balance. Things are so out of balance that I'm afraid we have no option now but to ban the burqa. Of the repression of women. How did we get It also is an overt rejection of British culture. When you see a woman wearing the burqa and niqab, she is looking down on British culture. She is rejecting us. How can you be in our country, claim to be British, and reject Britain? And finally, I mean, we shouldn't have to say this, but finally, we will ban first cousin marriage. For 6 minutes beyond what I was allocated. I'm going to shut up. I think you'll get another dose of me in a second. But I want to say one last thing. What you've just seen is just a synopsis of the draft policy. The draft policy for the restoration of our culture, which will underpin every other policy we make, is a sub-document. I'm very grateful to David for having produced it, and if I may, I'd like to take a bit of gratitude for having distilled it. Thank you very much, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a quick break, let Ben get refreshed, ready for the announcement.
Thank you. That was incredible. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Here she is, Sarah.
How are you?
Very good. How do you feel about that?
Great, wasn't it? Great speeches, you know, everyone's so passionate and they just want this country to be what it should be, back to the great nation that we are, what we have built over decades, and yeah, it's really...
How exciting is it to you that you have seen so many people turn out for Advance UK?
It's just amazing, it really does, like, I feel overwhelmed, to be honest with you, and I just feel a deep sense of pride in this room, and everyone is so patriotic, and we all care so deeply about this country, so yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Reggie, lovely to meet you as ever.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good! How are you?
Currently on a business card. No, I told them for free.
Scar's down. Look at this, guys, amazing. There, guys, 2 minutes. I'm just going to go and grab all my stuff. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Nice to see you, brother.
I've been posting about the exact same thing. Every single one is made. And I just think oh my god. I was like, you know, I've been around for far because of
Thank you, everyone, for all the likes, shares, super chats, new subscribers. Really appreciate it. Who's that?
Huh? See you on YouTube, you brother.
Thank you very much. No, thank you.
I just reminded your dad, remember to have fun as well.
Yeah.
Because life's too short. You don't want to go
be hungry for your youth.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Make
Thank
sure
you.
you have fun.
Thank you. See if we can grab some interviews with anyone, everyone. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me.
Has it like made any change in your mind about what I was thinking? I don't think everyone will accept me. Sorry.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing, guys. Wow.
You don't get to live both sides.
I'm going to do an interview with you, is that right? So you're based in Bougie. How did you feel about it?
I found the event to be very, very beautiful, very patriotic. It's nice to be in a room full of like-minded people who share the same values, and hopefully one day this country can look like this room.
When Ben Habib mentioned Christian core values, do you think it's vital that Christian values are implemented into this country?
Yeah, because Christianity built this country. Without Christianity, we wouldn't have the individual liberty, democracy, freedom of speech. So in order to return back to that, we need to return back to Christian roots. So yeah.
One more question. Will you be voting Advance UK?
9 times out of 10, yes. I don't like to speak too fast because I know I change my mind so quickly, but it's looking like a 99.999% sure. Other parties, I'm not sure about them yet, but Advance UK is looking like very, very... What I like about them is they're organised, and the fact that they've managed to organise themselves so quickly into a proper political party is very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Did you see the left? Oh yeah, you did, didn't you? The left outside. Oh my god, yeah. I tried walking into their thing and they all the time just like grabbing me, trying to grab my phone. They're crazy. They are crazy.
Honestly, and they all look dirty as well.
Yeah. They all smell. They don't wash.
They drained my whole battery. Do you have a phone charger?
Yeah.
Please, can I charge my phone?
What phone you got?
iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's like, no.
It's the only one I've got. Sorry about that. That's literally the only one I have.
I want to introduce myself. I'm Alice Young. I'm a big activist behind the scenes. I'm not really honest. They got me on facts. They got me on Facebook.
How you doing, mate? You alright? Yeah. Still got another about an hour and a half of this, guys, so make sure you stay tuned. So we have sound, guys, yeah? Yeah, Dad. Yes.
Because you were attacked the other day.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
certain things I can't say.
Right, Wendell.
That's all right.
Perfect, guys. Thank you. Thanks for all the likes, shares, all the super chats, guys. I appreciate it. Anyone who's donated to PayPal, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much.
I thought you were 6'5". Did a great job.
I wished I was.
Well, you are in stature.
How you doing, mate? You alright? Floss.
Huh? Oh, not really a bus here.
How you doing? You alright?
Young Bob's here.
Yeah, young Bob's here.
But actually, look, quite a lot of the epping group are reform.
Yeah, yeah.
But not.
You advance?
Who?
You gonna?
Yeah, I am.
advance?
I used to be reformed, but after the last 6-7 weeks, I sort of decided, right, they're not for me anymore. Because I'm the guy who did 3 weekends up in Clacton with Nigel last year. But for me, where they're going, it's going back to the old Tory party. The ladies here, look.
Yeah.
And this lady here is legend.
Yeah, based on bougie in the legend.
Yeah, alright, darling. I'm still following you. I'm not stalking you, but I'm following you on. Yeah, but the thing is, right, it's like a guy where she's very well spoken where she talks.
Yeah. You still going down Epping?
Yeah. All that bollocks with the pink ladies is so stupid.
Yeah.
But they did help. All of them helped us. Her name's sort of mud all around there. But last week I went to what did they call it last week? Braintree.
Yeah.
And then the Sarah told me some story about it. But what she did was all wrong. Anyway, catch you later, Reg.
See you later, mate. See you later. I should be.
If not, I'll see you around.
See you later, mate.
I just over with you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I was on that march, about 100 people there.
Yeah.
I come from Essex as well, near you.
Yeah.
Down Seal that way.
Yeah.
What's that? What do you think of that?
Very good.
Very,
Very
good to see you, man.
Just saying, that's fantastic, wasn't it?
Don?
Sorry, you okay? Hello, how are you?
Sorry, though. Let's go have a look outside and see what's going on, everyone.
It's just like, oh, she's a lovely girl, and then behind your back, she's got some strange ways.
Yeah, TQ's
And it got him out, and he shouldn't have had to fight. I had to fight for that guy.
What is going on? Oh, one sec, guys. Well, let's turn this on and off.
And I was about 5%. He couldn't get a start anyway.
There we go.
We should be like the Americans. They're so for their veterans. That's everything is about veterans.
See in the North East, when you go to the housing office in the North East, there's a box that you tick in the North East for investment. If you're ex-services, you can check this. Why is it like that with our people?
And how long it took you to get there. It's genuine
And she.
Hit that like, hit that share. If you want to support in any way, you can donate to my PayPal or send a super chat on here. It'd be muchly appreciated, guys.
Now in Brighton, we have potholes, I'm not even talking, right? When they did about the state of the potholes at BB News, they couldn't do it right. Because we're the worst. There's potholes like that, they've just spent millions on delivering off these plastic boxes to put which you can put in a composting garden. Tape bins, right? There's a big bin and a little bin, and they even put in 2 rolls of bags that are biodegradable to put the fucking food in, to put in the and there's holes like that in the road. I don't need to feed my children.
How you doing? You alright? Oh, thank you very much for that, Ali. I appreciate that. Legend. Thank you very much. So yeah, guys, if you're looking to donate, you can do so through PayPal or Super Chat, or you can just subscribe and like. We much appreciate everything, guys. So guys, what was all of your thoughts on that then, people? What was all of your thoughts on that? Let me know. Welcome, Leslie. Welcome to the team. This is the Emmanuel Centre, everyone. This is the Emmanuel Centre. Thank you for that, Leslie. This is the Emmanuel Centre. Thank you, Hasdes GG. If you're looking to become a member, guys, you can do so at the bottom right, or head over to my page. You get exclusive videos, Thank you, Jojo. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it, guys. Couldn't thank you guys enough, honestly. You guys are amazing. They're telling people to go back to their seats now, so we're going to make our way back to our seat, people. What would be nice if I brought my stand, I could leave this on the stage. But what I'm actually going to do is plug my mics in and put my mics by a speaker, so it's a lot better sound for you guys. But I'm also going to have a mic on me so you can hear me speak if I need to. Ali, did you gift the membership? If you did, thank you very much. If you did, I can't see if you did, but thank you so much. It's basically people basically just like pay for someone else to become a member. Yeah. Let me quit it. I'm going to put this by the speaker. No, I'd be alright. Put it there. Can you hear the speaker all good? You should be able to hear the music. We're gonna get copyrighted, but it is what it is. We're on 10%, so they're going to have to come in off the mic. So let's come off the mics just for now while we wait. And charge up the phone. And when the speaking starts again, guys, we'll get the mics back on. Just make sure I don't forget that mic on top of there, alright? Richard is a great guy. Yeah, exactly that, Ali. Of course, mate.
Yeah, just basically, I'm a regional director for Yorkshire, so I put that when Reggie met Reggie.
Yeah.
Over there.
You know. The lights have dimmed now. I think it's starting again soon, people.
The lights are off.
1 sec, guys. I'm just going to test something. No. don't think it works. Welcome everyone, welcome. I hope everyone's doing well. Give me a second, guys. Flipping hell, guys. Flipping hell, guys. I have just seen how many members we've gained. One sec. There we go, we're back. All right.
Let me jump there you go. Alright, make it easy.
Somehow I'm charging but losing battery. Someone tell me. West Ham 2-0. Come on, you Irons. Let me have a look at that. Who scored? Or John, just let me know who scored, buddy.
Right? See a white cup anywhere or...
It's alright, Ali. Ali, how many did you do? Did you do 5? Because that's amazing if you did. Thank you so much. Or loads of people have joined it. Look at this. Loads of people have joined
Bring it back to the kitchen. Yeah, no, it's alright. It's fine.
What are you looking for?
Just empty cup, like mugs, not those empty cups, mugs. It's alright. Alright. I don't want to be rude.
Hit that like button, hit that share, everyone. Let's go. Let's try and get to 100 people in the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We're about to commence with our immigration policy.
Thank you, Ali. Howard is here. There he is. There he is. The Baraka show's back. Hey. Yeah.
Room for a little one? Yeah.
Somerville and Tati. Somerville and Tati. Come on. Come on, Johan.
Sorry.
That's alright?
Thank you. Hello, you're
You alright? Yeah.
Thank you.
Here it is. You alright? Guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit over there. Come sit over here. You get a better angle. And what we'll get, guys, I'll get a better angle when I'm speaking. Right, guys, I'm going to change over from this to the mics now for like 10 minutes, and then we've got to change back and on and back, only just because of our battery. Can you hear me and the speaker? Let me know, let me know.
Ladies and gentlemen, now to our policy on immigration. Man of the hour, Ben Habib.
Perfect.
This is the policy which we have conceived this event for, the immigration policy. As I said when I first spoke, that it's the preeminent issue exercising everyone's mind. And so, before I start, I just want to say this: isn't it peculiar that even though it's the preeminent policy in the electorate's mind, we don't know where the Tory party stand on immigration? Yes, we know that Kevin Matlock would like to increase the period of time from 5 years to 10 years for indefinite leave to remain. Yes, we know that she now reluctantly agreed to CHR, but beyond that, you've got no vision of where the Tory party is on immigration. And then there's another party, the Labour of which has made a living on the back of calling out mass immigration for the last 25 years. But that party hasn't come up with a policy on immigration. Do we know what net zero migration means? That's the headline. But actually, net zero migration could mean 1 million people coming in each year, as long as 1 million Brits leave each year. It's about as daft a brush as a policy as you could possibly come up with. And it's vital, therefore, that if these parties wish to champion the United Kingdom and the British people, if that's what they claim they wish to do, they need to come up with a comprehensive immigration policy for illegal migration and mass migration. 6 months old, or 2 months since we got our registration with the Electoral Commission, you will see from this brand new party a complete holistic approach to how we're going to deal with immigration. So it's not rocket science. These other parties can do it if they wish to. They just haven't got the courage to do it.
Is there sound, guys? Let me know if there's sound.
Is that this is a national emergency. Our population is growing rapidly, not because we're all reproducing like rabbits, but because we have taken our borders down. This is an emergency. So the first thing an advanced UK government will do is declare a national emergency. We will use the authority given to the government after having been elected under that mandate. We will use the authority given by the national emergency to pass the laws that we need to pass to save the country being completely taken over by foreigners. This policy, like the last one, is in draft. It is a much thicker document that the committee responsible for it. The document itself is much thicker than the points I'm going to go through. But I'm going to pull on the main parts of that policy, focusing on the national emergency aspect. So this is not the policy that you may see into the long UK government. This is the immigration policy that we will use to settle the United Kingdom, save it from the trajectory that it's currently on. The other political parties are skirting around the issue. How is it that simply through the effluxion of time in this country as a foreigner, that you suddenly get the right to stay here forever? How is it that we will take people in and say, well, as long as you're here for 5 years, you can break the law, you can be on benefits, you don't have to work, we'll look after you, and as long as you're here for 5 years, we'll then make you a British citizen. Well, no, sorry, forgive me. We will give you indefinite leave to remain. It doesn't make any sense. If you come to this country on a visa, either for student purposes or for work, you discharge whatever the permissions are, and you use the permissions that you had under that visa, and then you graciously absent yourself from the country. It's obvious that we will abolish. We will abolish the granting, any further granting of indefinite leave to remain. But it's already taken quite a grip of the country. The Boris wave of immigrants, remember the guy who said he'd deliver Brexit and stop immigration? He actually let 5 million people into the country under his tenure. And if we don't reverse indefinitely to remain back to a point in time where that Boris wave began, we will not be able to save the United Kingdom. So we have to not just abolish ILR, we have to reverse it back to 2019, when Boris Johnson became Prime Minister. Stop this preparedness to be all welcoming to anyone from any part of the world that claims that they're a threat at home. Asylum applications will be suspended. There will be no new asylum. And we will reverse back to 2019, perhaps with 1 or 2 exceptions, but we will reverse back to 2019 any asylum grants. I know for a fact that the civil service has been issuing asylum, the right to stay in this country, not because the people applying for asylum deserved it, but because they just wanted to get rid of the embarrassing backlog of asylum applications. They wanted it to look as if they'd reduced the asylum backlog, and so they're rushing through the granting of asylum status. So we have to reverse that back to 2019 as well. And for goodness sake, stop giving away British citizenship. In the previous presentation on culture, I spoke at some length about the contract that exists between the state and citizens. You can't possibly buy into a contract simply by sitting in the country for a period of time, which is where ILR ends up. First you get indefinitely to remain, and then you're given a British passport as if it's a right. It is not a right. It's a privilege to be British, and we will stop granting. And we reached the stage under this national emergency where I'm afraid we're going to have to be pretty hard on people being allowed into the country for work. Visas will only be granted to people who are coming from a country that is on our new green list, which I will reveal in a second. We can't have wholesale mass migration from parts of the world that actually detest the United Kingdom. Which hold us in high regard. Why the devil have visas been granted to students' families when they come here to study? What was the principle underlying that? It is ridiculous. So there will be an immediate cancellation of all visas. But when they come up to their expiry, the employing companies or public sector body that was employing these foreigners on visas will have to find British workers to fill those jobs. At the end of your time under your visa, it should be absolutely natural and expected, as I said, that you graciously go back home. This is our green list of countries. As I say, everything is in draft, so it may change between now and the final policy comes out. But you can see from the list of countries listed that not one of them would pose a risk to the United Kingdom. And that's where we've got to go back to. Yes, we are an outward-looking nation, but we're being overwhelmed, and right now we need to protect ourselves So this green list will provide where we will take our future workers or force from and students and people who move on to these jobs. And the student sector has become a back door to actually coming into the United Kingdom, staying there for more than 5 years, getting around and getting British citizenship. They actually don't attend the universities. Many of them don't attend the universities that they were intended to, they were given a visa to attend. So we will require any student visas granted for that student to pay all their fees up front. There are 1.5 million foreigners in the country. 775,000, I think, from the European Union, who come through the withdrawal agreement, and I'm going to come back to that. The rest from other parts of the world, who are getting the benefit of our ridiculously generous state welfare system. It's costing us the thick end. These are the official figures. I think the figure's much higher. It's costing us a thick end of £10 billion a year officially. But 1.5 million times 10,000 each takes us automatically to 15 billion. And it's probably higher than that as well. I'm sure we all know that. So the benefits for foreigners has to stop. Why did we even think that was a good idea? Foreigners benefits. What is extreme as a policy is to do that in the first place. And we're going to encourage people who are here, foreigners who are in the country, to go home. That too should not be an extreme policy. It should not be regarded as extreme. Yes, it's radical compared to where we have been with this influx of immigration. But not once in the last 30 years, not once in the last 30 years have the British people voted for mass migration. Every single election. We have voted for less migration. We want it stopped. So it shouldn't be offensive to anyone that we encourage foreigners to go under through a consensual repatriation program where they're given
West Ham are winning.
And then the other thing that we see.
What's the West Ham score, everyone? It was 2-0 last time I checked. Just let me know.
Refuse to remove yourself. Actually, you're now in the United Kingdom illegally. But we don't recognise that. We think they've come on a visa. We don't know where they are. We'll turn a blind eye. They can stay in benefits. They can take jobs from British workers and so on. And then they stay in the country. The first step is to classify anyone in this country who is here on an expired visa as being here illegally.
Come on, you Irons.
As I mentioned again in our culture policy, the importance there being the reintroduction of aspiration and work ethic, and so on. We are going to have to replace those immigrants on whom we've become so dependent and so lazy in our own habits. We're going to have to replace them with British citizens. We're going to have to encourage British citizens to come back into the workplace. As I mentioned, there are 8 million British citizens on universal credit at the moment, 4 million of which are not even looking for a job. They're not even looking for a job. I do not accept for one moment that all 4 million have such significant issues with themselves that they are unable to come back into work. That 4 million figure back in 2018 was 1 million. That's how accelerated our state of dependency has become. So we have to refuse to pay welfare to people who refuse to work. To encourage them to work, we need to take the need of the state off the neck of the working and middle classes in this country. We must reduce taxes. It's actually and you then start collecting tax of £3,000 to £5,000 a year from that same person who is now working, the British taxpayer, the state of the United Kingdom, is better off by £20,000 a head. It's good economics. It's basic 101 economics. The Labour government doesn't get it. They tried to reduce the welfare bill by 5 billion. You remember this fiasco? They tried to reduce the welfare bill by 5 billion, which represents 1.6% of our welfare bill. They had such a debate amongst themselves that they ended up actually spending more at the end of the debate in Parliament. It is an utter joke. An advanced UK government will absolutely cut welfare and cut taxes, get people back into work, improve their mental health issues as a result of that, and make sure that the British state is wealthier as a result of that. And the next slide comes to something that, again, no government, of which I'm aware, has done in the past. We take people into this country, we give them a visa, we give them all the rights to roam and to work and to take our benefits and so on, and we ask for nothing in return. We don't even ask for some basic commitments in return. Well, every visa granted under the advanced UK government will require the adherence to what we now call our new residence covenant. They must obey the law. If they break the law, their visa is cancelled. They must only engage in the activity permitted by their visa. Why should they engage in any other activity? And of course, they shouldn't be engaging in political activity. We don't want foreigners coming to this country under visas and then using their opportunity in this country to promote foreign interests. They will not be allowed to advocate for foreign countries. They will not be allowed to process down Hyde Park, down through Parliament Square, and abuse the British people on their route. That will be stopped. To convert British people to whatever their ideology is. That too cannot be allowed. So any breach of the resident covenant, which will be embedded in every visa, retrospectively as well, by the way, will result in the cancellation of the visa, the individual being classified as being here illegally, and then they will suffer the consequences, which I will come to in a second, of illegal migration. And many in this country, that stopping illegal migration is somehow an extreme thing. That actually illegal migration is the way of the future, that climate change is giving rise to large movements of people, that there's an inability through our adherence to the European Convention of Human Rights for us to actually stamp our foot down and say, no, you're not coming into our country illegally. The extreme policy here is not stopping people at our front door. The extreme policy is opening our front door and welcoming everyone in. So in addition, obviously, stopping granting them the right to stay in four-star hotels, on our air bases, in our social housing, getting free medical care, free iPad, translators, cash in their back pocket, and goodness knows what else. Instead of that, we're going to do something radical. It's not extreme, it's radical because it changes the past. We will recognize them to be what they are, which is here illegally. They will have broken our laws, so they will be arrested, they will be detained, and then they will be deported to the national. We started off by saying that if you enter this country illegally, you will never be allowed to stay in this country. By the time it became an act, that had gone. It became a shadow of itself, and that illegal migration act has never been enacted. We must reacquaint ourselves with the notion that British law applies in the United Kingdom. And if you've been judged to be illegally here and judged to be deported, you will be deported. You can't appeal it. Why the devil should you be allowed to do it? And if we can't get their countries to take home those that they send to us illegally, then we will sanction those countries, or we will remove aid from those countries, or, failing all of that, this individual, I'm afraid, will remain incarcerated for as long as it takes for them to voluntarily get on a plane and go home. But if you're a foreigner and you've broken the law and you're on a British jail, there are about 100,000 places for British jails, 10,000 of them are taken by foreigners, costing us over £50,000 per head per annum to keep these foreigners in our jail. Why are they here? They all belong to them. Once a phenomenal force for the United Kingdom, dispatched across the globe in order to do the bidding of the crown, now can't even stop a flipping rubber digging in the channel. And it's not because the Royal Navy and the naval officers and cadets and everyone else are incapable of doing this side of their duty. It's because their political masters are not invoking them to do their duty. The Royal Navy would be given full legal protection, and it would be instructed to intercept things, turn them around, and invite them to go back to France. I know France is an awful country. We need to develop a bit of stiff upper lip and send them back there. And obviously, we'll give the Navy all the tools that it needs in order to do its job. And I tell you folks, if a dinghy full of single young men from Afghanistan, Somalia, or wherever, come up against a frigate that refuses to let it pass, I think they'll go back to France pretty damn quickly. They're not going to be able Starmer makes a big thing about breaking smuggling gangs. I don't know if he's aware that most of these smuggling gangs are based in Europe. It's there that the trade is taking place. There are members, however, in the United Kingdom who welcome people, and there's one digression. What you see, the people you see coming off border force boats and RNLI boats, they're the ones of which we're aware. There are many others coming across who are not intercepted and given a warm cup of tea and a Kit Kat on the state-sponsored British ferry from the middle of our territorial waters back to shore. There are many who actually under their own steam under their dinghies and on our shores, and they are met by illegal smugglers in this country. And we must tackle those illegal smugglers. They must face the full force of British law. And you know, for goodness sake, stop the pagans to France. It would seem to us as well that the Home Office is hijacked. The job required to be done will not be done by them. So the advanced UK government is going to establish an immigration enforcement and tribunal. IEFT, amongst its other obligations, will police the residence governments It will be the authority that is able to direct the police to take action where it needs to take action. And then to the extent that there's a legal process,
What do you want, mate? You're hungry.
it will be the IFT that oversees that legal process. And again, there will be no right of appeal. There will be no mechanism for some left-wing charitable entity interceding and funding the legal fees, or the government funding the legal fees of people who are here illegally. The IFT will act, it will act decisively, and it will send people to prison. And then deportation. In order to give effect to all of this, there are a couple of things we need to do, which I've already mentioned. The first is the ECHR, so on anything we want to do, we can detain these people, we can incarcerate them, deport them. ECHR, reverse the Human Rights Act. But there's one other thing that we need to do, and I love this bit. I love this bit. We have to denounce, as I said in my statement on the culture, we have to denounce the withdrawal agreement. And I'll tell you why we have to do that. Because the withdrawal agreement has in it this Northern Ireland Protocol. And in the Northern Ireland Protocol, it doesn't just require that Northern Ireland continues to stick and commit itself to the European Convention of Human Rights, as does the Good Friday and Belfast Agreement. But it goes on to establish also European Union human rights laws in Northern Ireland. And unless we denounce the withdrawal agreement, unless we tear it up, if we enact the policies that I've just described in Great Britain as distinct from Northern Ireland, every illegal migrant will leave Great Britain and go to Northern Ireland. It will become a repository for illegal migration. And this, my erstwhile party, actually put that forward as their mass deportation policy, that they would leave the ECHR in Great Britain, but leave Northern Ireland subject to EU human rights laws and the ECHR, making Northern Ireland a repository for illegal migration, and basically not achieving diddly squat, because everyone coming to this country will know that they're safe in Northern Ireland. But here's the thing. If you remove the ECHR from Northern Ireland and EU human rights law from Northern Ireland, guess where all the illegal migrants are going to go? They're going to go to the Republic of Ireland. What a shame. It's so obvious I shouldn't be asking the question. I'll make it a rhetorical question. How do you think the Republic of Ireland is going to respond? It only has one response to the Republic. It is to eject from its own body of law the ECHR and European Union human rights law. This is not the aim of our policy, but I just want all Irish citizens to be aware of this. If we do what's right for the United Kingdom, we will save the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, Ali, I know. Yeah, it's flew by.
That took me 16 minutes, I think. No, 15 minutes. 25 minutes, something like that. It took me 25 minutes to set out some policies which would save this country. People keep telling me that it's too far gone, we can't do it, it's too far gone. It's not too far gone. Yeah, so now we come to the part actually frankly that I enjoy the most, which is Q&A, which gives you the opportunity to tell me that, what I've been talking about a little bit wrong, or at least cross-question me on it. Hopefully that will not. But before I do that, Can I first of all just again thank you for coming to this event, for taking the risk. Through those anti-racist laws outside. But can I also implore you that when you leave here today, and you wouldn't have heard me say this before, don't go out and think, well, you know, you made a lot of good points, but actually I'm just going to have to work with the mainstream, I'm going to have to stick with the mainstream because there's no chance of the UK forming a government. If that's how you think, I don't think that's how anyone in the room thinks, because you wouldn't be here if you thought that way. But people who think that way are part of the problem. They need to start voting for policies and for people and for a political party that will do the job. Is when you leave here, speak to people about what I've said. Explain to people that there is a political party that has the ability, the capability, the fortitude to deliver what this country so desperately needs. And that party is Advance UK, and they should join it. They should lead the other. So can we please move to Q&A? And I'll direct, we've got some microphones. There's a lady behind you with a t-shirt. Okay. Right, you choose the question then, Sam.
Hello, thank you so much, man. Thank you for this opportunity. If you have a question, can you please put your hand up? We have a little time, so you can keep your question concise. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And we have 3 assistants, so just wait for the assistant to come over to you. Thank you.
Naturally, your critics are going to suggest that we're going to lose a significant workforce. We can't do without it. What will say to those people?
So, one of the things we're going to do in Advance UK is not create an economic policy until all the other policies that are required to be implemented, drafted, and then subsequently implemented have been drafted. So we know the implications of all the economic implications of all the steps we're going to have to take to save the country. This is another bit of joint thinking I haven't seen any other political party do. They're all talking about economics ahead of speaking about the fundamental issues that need to be addressed. You can't address the economics until you know what disturbance you're going to do to the economic organism by the other policies. So we're going to frame our other policies, and then the leaders of state will act to make sure that our economy is protected from any adverse consequences of our actions. So, for example, I have said a couple of times now, we're going to denounce the withdrawal agreement. That is going to have the European Union popping up and down in agitation, in a state of agitation. And we will need a full economic response to the EU. It is a belligerent foreign force, and we will need to be prepared for it. We will be prepared for it. We will cut taxes, we will deregulate, we will ditch net zero, we'll drill, maybe drill. We're going to make any adverse economic consequences of our policies and make sure that we can ride through any problems ahead. Well, without minutes, without the public eye on them. Mandelson's, what we've seen with Mandelson is the tip of the iceberg. The reason Mandelson isn't already in jail, the reason he twice came back from political obscurity, put back into office, ennobled, made an ambassador, the reason that all happened is because the establishment is rotten to the core. A foreign-born billionaire to attend the World Economic Forum so he can speak on a program with Bloomberg is someone we should not be electing as Prime Minister.
We now have a question from Lyle. Thank you, Ben. Obviously the unemployment is a massive issue, and obviously you want to get people into work. Yes, there's lots of people, anxiety, and then having PRP with universal credit, which is ridiculous. A lot of people, including myself, have felt under having to be made redundant because of the national insurance hikes. It's in charities, retail, hospitality, plenty of other places as well. How are you going to fix that and help there be more jobs back on the market? And how are you going to slash the video on this?
The DEI people from doing something, like speeding, for example, what you do is fine them. That's what governments do, they fine them. Isn't it peculiar that in a country where we wish to incentivize people to work, we keep fining them for working? We have to cut taxes. The left hate it. They hate it because they want the dependency culture, because they want to be able to control you through money amongst other things. And so they want to tax you for them. They say, oh, you can't cut taxes. We're so indebted. We'll go bust overnight. Well, guess what? You cut welfare at the same time as cutting taxes. Actually, you create a virtuous circle that I was talking about earlier. So it's perfectly possible to actually get this economy firing on all cylinders again. Now, we're not facing, the problems this country faces now are much greater than what manufacture faced in 1979, much bigger. She faced just an economic issue. We're facing an existential threat. The very existence of our country is threatened. But one thing she did, which was absolutely right, and we must have the courage to do it, is reduce taxes straight away. In her first budget, she reduced income tax because she knew she had to get Britain working again.
Guys, I'm going to have to end this here. One sec, let's wait for the clapping to finish. So yeah, I've got to end this live stream here because of my battery. My power bank has run out now, and my battery's on 4%, so I've now got to end this stream. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I appreciate it, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you very much, everyone. See you later, guys.